This top 10 fantasy football tight ends edition of the Sports Gambling Podcast is brought to you by Underdog. Get up to a $1,000 deposit match when you sign up at UnderdogFantasy.com. Promo code SGPN.
This is Clay Harbor. You're listening to SGPN. Let it ride.
Fucking shine box.
Welcome everyone to the Sports Gambling Podcast. I'm Sean, stacking the money green with my partner of picks, Ryan, Real Money Kramer. What's happening, Kramer?
Dog.
Hello, Sean.
What's happening?
Just talking about tight ends.
Yes.
Do you think people realize the significance of tight ends yet? As a fan of this program,
what do you mean?
It makes me think of first touchdowns.
Oh, first touchdowns.
Makes me think about. Honestly, as I started doing these
backup
rankings,
tight ends were they got us paid, especially the past previous years. I feel like last year they tightened up the first touchdown market a little bit. Annoyingly, there was still some value to be had and some 2 touchdown stuff there in the tight end market. Of course, I'm a tight end insider, Ryan, a former tight end. Somehow my invitation got lost to Tight End University, but
I wanted to bring that up.
Still consider myself a.
Can we talk about Tight End University?
Sure.
Which
this is the episode for it.
Love the in general. Love the idea.
Yeah.
Essentially, small business convention. But instead of a small business, it's the entity of tight ends.
Yeah.
Well, I do think there was an element of like they felt like they were underpaid. There was a number of like other things going on. If you hear them, if you hear the various tight ends who have done the media circuit leading up to Tight End U, like that's one of their talking points is contractually where tight ends were when they started this like 5 years ago and where they are today. Well, but my question is,
real quick before I to interject, Ryan, they had Taylor Swift there. Well, is that where you're getting at? Where are we going?
That was going to be the end of my story,
okay,
but I was starting as like, it does seem like this is a functional convention where there are people giving lectures or keynote speeches or whatever, or just talking about something, whether it's business outside of football, et cetera. And then they get on the field and there's some coaching and shit like that. But it also seems like they had a good end of convention party, like many do.
Yeah.
With Taylor Swift being the center point, and then the Swifties are all of a sudden. Tight End U is now blowing the fuck up. Next year, it's going to have to be held in a major arena. And all of this because a bunch of like meatheads wanted to get together and drink beers in Tennessee.
So Taylor was there, and I'm talking about Taylor Lewan.
Oh, okay.
Taylor Swift. Of course, my wife is a big Swiftie, so it's rare where our feeds combine to say, "Hey, have you seen this?" But I also, you mentioned how they were always advocating for the tight end position, getting their fair share, sticking up against the big corporation,
it
aka
does seem like
the
that's
NFL and the owners.
Yes.
Who better to bring in to help you negotiate against big, powerful media conglomerates than one Taylor Swift? The NFL,
one of your new owners.
The NFL should be worried.
Have you seen that rumor?
What, that she's going to own an NFL team?
She already does own a piece of an NFL team.
Really?
Well, as you know, Patrick Mahomes owns part of the Chiefs as part of his contract in some way, right? There's some ownership stake that Patrick Mahomes now has in the Chiefs.
Oh, but that you're guessing that.
No, I'm not. I'm pretty sure that's factual.
That's reported?
I'm pretty sure that's factual.
I don't think they can do that.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think you can own a stake in the company.
So maybe it's some sort
NFL.
of inferred, like you're taking less money to be. Okay, well
No, I mean there was always
the Reddit trail I went down was
maybe
that
there was always conspiracy theories about that's why Tom Brady, and maybe not conspiracy theories that Tom Brady, that's why he always took less money was that there's a wink deal with with Robert Kraft that he would get paid somehow under the table, ownership stake, etc., lump sum.
So the Reddit thread that I went down, I'll have to find this and post it. Essentially, it highlighted how small of a percentage the Hunts actually own and how they've been slowly divesting, and how it would make sense that could be an entry point for Taylor. And if you are a conspiracy theorist who thinks this is all just staged for some sort of effect, well, I mean, what better way to start the quid pro quo of ownership?
She is the ultimate businesswoman. She is getting women to watch the NFL. Why not get a little taste of the action? I was saying, do we think the tight ends are going to somehow, in the same way that Taylor released the albums that were Taylor's version, will we have like a Kelsey's version of his contract? Will he try and negotiate some sort of separate royalty for his highlights?
God, I mean, there's no way he understands any of that. So maybe Taylor's going to represent him. You got a spousal representation situation. But yeah, I mean, I think effectively what the tight ends have done to get more money is be more offensive weapons and essentially what they're doing is they're devaluing being a two-way tight end by just not doing it. And I think what they're showing you is you can be the highest paid tight end and not block it all. And I think in some ways that is what tight end you is all about. I think it's about highlighting the value of the weapon that is a tight end.
But some of these guys that are on the list that are doing well in the offensive are legitimately good blockers, both in the pass and run game.
It's like icing though. It's not like it used to be that there was almost a requisite to be one of the top tight ends.
Yeah.
And then Tony Gonzalez came around, right? And then so he was the guy, and then it was Antonio Gates, and there's one of them. And now, and Kelsey was kind of like the guy with the baton in our era, but now it's like there's way less Kittles and way more Kelseys is all my point is. And I think that's when you have a guy like Brock Bowers come in and take that next step. I mean, he's a receiver. It's fine. He can do stuff. Like he's going to, what do they say? He's a willing participant in the blocking game. But like the reason that Brock Bowers is shining a very bright light on the tight end position and in some ways carrying them is because he was the alpha receiver on his team.
Yeah. He
was running routes receivers run. He was running routes better than receivers.
Well, and of course he's my number one. I'm guessing you have him number one as well. 100. Okay, maybe not. I have him as my number one fantasy football tight end. 112 receptions, 5 touchdowns as a rookie. And I think it's going to increase. They get rid of, Devontae Adams last year. I mean, sure, they're going to be running the ball, but like, who is his competition for targets? I just don't see it. Yeah, Jacoby Myers, sure. They're going to have to throw the ball somewhat, and you play in a dome. There's just so many reasons why he's going to be involved early and often. I think he could run back another 100+ reception season, and the touchdowns might go up. So sky's the limit for Brock Bowers, my number one fantasy football tight end.
So there's only so many guys that command the level of target share that Brock Bowers achieved last year. 153 getting to 150 targets.
And that's a great point because he can increase efficiency with I would say Geno's probably an upgrade at quarterback. If Geno brings some efficiency to that 153 targets, which might even be a little higher this year.
So yeah, the way that I would break down the top 2, because I do think it's a tier of 2, and I think my guy Trey McBride is my guy.
Okay.
Now here is the pure comparison. I think the offense changes, and Brock Bowers is now going into a Pete Carroll offense that is going to run the rock a good deal more than I think they were trying to do last year. And I think you now have a weapon at running back that is going to take catches away as well, targets away. And so I see what Brock Bowers had last year as kind of the ceiling. I don't know if he gets much more efficient, but you're right. He could have his yards per catch could go up with Geno. Yeah. I could see him ending more. He finished with 10.7 yards per reception last year. You could see that changing with Geno. But you can see the way Geno will target him down the field more. You will see the way that his play action will benefit from Ashton Jeanty. So I think having him have a similar year is fine.
But also, I would say Antonio Pierce was a very smash mouth, run the ball kind of guy. I don't even know if it's going to be that much different than what it was last year.
Yeah, we should.
Now, GT will allow them to be more successful running the ball, but Antonio Pierce was a smash mouth guy.
Yes, but the general splits turned out to not like be so run heavy because they were behind a lot, maybe just because they realized what they had in Brock Bowers.
Yeah, to your
you
point,
watch a Raiders game last year down the stretch, and they were just feeding Brock Bowers relentlessly.
And I could see a lot of that this year.
During closer games, I don't know if you have as much of that where he's getting 5 catches in a drive.
Yeah, I guess to your point, like there maybe if they're a more competitive team, not playing from behind as much might limit his opportunities.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily. He's my number 2. I'm not necessarily. I think there's only. I mean, how many guys can get to 100 catches? There's only so many tight ends that will have that opportunity and volume. And I think for Bowers, you're right to say, could he still be the alpha receiver? I think so. But I think everything else takes a small step back in terms of overall volume. I don't think he gets fully to the, like, I think he'll flirt with 100 catches, not 112 this year. My number 1's Trey McBride. I think he was the biggest difference here is I just think he has essentially Marvin Harrison taking a step forward, becoming a helpful secondary option. And he is the clear number 1. You go listen to Kyler talk this offseason. You listen to the offensive coaching staff talk. This offense is built around Trey McBride. And he did everything he did last year with sharing the load, still ended up with a nice target share with those other receivers, with the style of offense where they're going to get the running back involved. And he only had 2 touchdowns. Bowers at least had 5. Trey McBride, it was a story, him not finding the end zone. And so that little bit of touchdown regression that I'll put in his favor, I think he ends up being the number 1 tight end. And I think the big takeaway from this experiment, I guess rankings aren't experiments, is that the tight ends are mostly ass. If you look back over time, again in the sheets, you can kind of sort this and see this. I measure up tight ends against being a top 12, 24, and 36 receiver. So essentially, are you a wide receiver 1, a wide receiver 2, or wide receiver 3?
And I agree, but I would also say, and I was listening to the under guys talk about some of the underdog stuff. The tight ends are getting so disrespected in best ball that you have like a starting tight end going head to head with as far as like draft position with a third receiver, and maybe the disrespect has gone too far as their fantasy ability, especially in Underdog, where obviously you have to play, or you can play at least 1 tight end, maybe even 2. I think there might be some value in rolling the dice and taking like some 4 tight end builds.
Well,
or two really good tight end builds. Yeah, I mean, which I wouldn't have done previous years.
Exactly what I mean. My big takeaway coming into this year was always 3 tight ends. Why? Because they're mostly the same thing. They're mostly just touchdown regression. And when we get to my number 3 guy, we'll get into it a little bit more. But it's also just like the variance of the tight end is the touchdown. And so with the exception of guys like McBride, Bowers, and I think you probably still have to include Kelsey from a sheer volume perspective, you're mostly just hoping for those spike weeks. And so my strategy season long is I am getting one of the top guys who, again, back to what I was getting to, is measuring them up against receivers. To me, McBride and Bowers are in a very, very short group of guys who can end up looking like a wide receiver 1. And that's why you're drafting them in the late first round, second round. And I'm fine with that. But after that, my takeaway is you play draft value, because so many of these guys are the same. I agree they're being disrespected, but all that does is push down when you need to take them, when you need to take your group of 2 or 3.
Yeah. So
you know what I mean?
Yeah. So I agree with you. I have Trey McBride second.
Okay.
The interesting thing about Trey McBride is his inability to the touchdown stuff. Like that's the only thing holding him back from an insane year. He only had 2 receiving touchdowns. He's had 6 in his 3 years receiving. He did randomly have 1 rushing touchdown. last year because they were just so desperate to get him into the end zone, and that's the only thing maybe holding them back. But if he figures it out and if he gets 6 receiving touchdowns on top of his 110 plus receptions, he could totally smash. I don't know if it's Kyler can't see over the line near the goal line. That's kind of a joke. But Ryan, why do you think McBride hasn't had the touchdowns that he should, considering how good he's been as a receiver?
I guess the knock would maybe he has less explosive play, or he's not used as much in the explosive play category, and but like he was another guy where he was tackled a bunch of times, like at the inside the 5-yard line.
It could just be the way the cookie crumbles. Like there is just, hey, kind of bad luck.
I mean, do you remember the year that Calvin Johnson had where he was like tackled 8 times inside the 5-yard line, and it was like an obscenely like I think that regresses year to year. And with McBride, you now have basically 2 years of sample where he was somehow not finding the end zone at the same rate he was being targeted in the rest of the field. And so,
and kind of Justin Jefferson, right? We saw the same thing with Justin Jefferson, where considering how dominant he is as a receiver, the receptions, the yards, everything else, the touchdowns kind of hadn't been there as much for him.
So the last thing I'd add to McBride and Bowers that I like, it's kind of a best ball conversation, but even in season long, I like that if you wanted to, you can stack your alpha receiver with the quarterback at a relatively, with Geno free and with Kyler relatively cheap, considering that he does run. And so best ball, definitely something to consider, that when you draft Bowers or McBride, you end up with a very affordable stack.
Ryan, shout out to the chat, youtube.com/sportsgaming podcast. We had a fan sighting within the chat.
Really?
Japan just got recognized as the dab guy from AKA Jacoby. You the dab dude, right? Japan writes, that's me, dab time guy. So shout out to Japan, and shout out to the listeners, especially our good buddies Mackenzie, Keaton, and then Daniel from the Tattoo Fantasy League. If you missed that episode, go back. Check out the social post at Gambling Podcast. Keaton unfortunately was the loser. Mackenzie was the winner of the Listener Fantasy League. Keaton got a SGPN themed tattoo as part of his Listener League punishment for losing the league. We will be running it back. Hit up Daniel if you're interested. We're going to increase the prizes, Ryan, because
you forgot the $100 hand of blackjack and handshake.
He's got to come out and claim
if he gets to Vegas.
And of course, we're brought to you by MyBookie.ag. MyBookie, you can get down on every sport right now. If you're looking at some live sweats, MLB, WNBA, golf, but of course the NFL futures, college football futures.
Ooh.
Just doing all these college football conference tournaments. Conference previews. My brain relapsed into talking about random college conferences. Yeah. It makes me think about college basketball, but of course, we did a ton of college football conference previews. Those are dropping on the feed soon. We got the SEC Big Ten already out. Great reason to subscribe. And of course, if you're getting down, toss us a bone and toss yourself a bone. MyBookie.ag, promo code SGPN, 100% match up to $1,000. Terms and conditions apply on the rollover bonus. MyBookie.ag, promo code SGPN, and we're talking fantasy. How about, Ryan, you have your fantasy football draft, but you do it big. Great reason to get all the guys together. Head out to Las Vegas. Use the promo code SGP15. You get 50% off the Circa, but you also have a chance to win a free stay at the Circa. That's right. You and 11 of your friends, 2-night stay at the Circa Legacy Club welcome party. They got an open bar package, stadium swim cabana where you're going to do the draft, and you get a $5,000 bar tab. That is, I'm sure Derek will come by, help you put a dent in that thing. So this is awesome. Sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Circa. All you do, give them your name and your email address. You might win. And of course, if you win, if anyone's interested, if you're doing your draft at Stadium Swim and you want Kramer and I to come host it, and by that I mean like announce some picks, have fun with you. Ryan said he'll shotgun a beer. That could be arranged. Sportsgamblingpodcast.com.
One beer
/CIRCA.
Okay. And cleaning up something from earlier.
Yes.
Mahomes owns a number of the other franchises in Kansas City.
Yes.
And so the dashed line was being drawn to like, oh, well, all these owners are in cahoots.
No,
so.
and I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up owning it technically post, but you know how these, to your point, Ryan, I didn't think there was anything official, but could there be a wink under the table? I mean, you know how these owners work. They're always wheeling and dealing behind the scenes.
I mean, it's like we know of situations where people don't like certain people are not involved in the ownership group, but they are involved in the ownership group. So like the Hunts aren't technically involved in the Royals ownership group, but Patrick Mahomes, dude, he owns a stake in the Royals, the MLS team, Sporting Kansas City, and the women's team, the Kansas City Current, one of the rivals of Angel City, by the way, Sean. He also owns a piece of a Formula One team, the Alpine Formula One team, which I think they've changed names, and he owns a pickleball team based out of Miami. Mahomes is really building up. He's like he's a mogul.
Pickleball team in Miami does it. How is that not a front?
Pickleball teams are. It's got to be a grift like spring football, right?
Yeah, you're telling me all the line items in the pickleball.
Can we?
Yeah, we need $25,000 for a new court down in Miami.
I feel like we really do need to launch an investigative journalism podcast on some of these leagues.
See what they're up to.
Just you know,
there's certainly some shenanigans.
The show's just going to be called Inside Job.
All right, Ryan. I'll reveal my.
Yeah, we're doing our fantasy tight ends.
I feel like I might be stealing your thunder here, but number 3, give me George Kittle. Looking at the numbers,
it's kind of gross. The numbers.
Yeah, he's good, and I'd always busted his chops for not being able to figure out the touchdown thing. He has figured that out. Shout out to him. He actually is one of the last few willing blockers. Now, maybe you could make a case he is entering year 9, maybe a little long in the tooth, but looking at the situation. That of guys they lost, like losing Debo. How are you going to fill that role with Debo? It feels like more work for Kittle. Ayuk coming back off that injury. Is he going to be 100%? Ricky Pearsall, Juwan Jennings, they're fine. They're interesting fantasy, especially depending on where you draft them. But how is Kittle not a big part of this offense? Brock Purdy has a good connection with them. It's tough. As much as I like making fun of George Kittle, it's tough not to have him having a pretty damn good season. And this is without McCaffrey, and I haven't announced whether he's going to be injured yet or not this season. But yeah, I mean, when I was shitting on him, it was it was early on in the 2021. He couldn't get into the end zone, but now he has. And he broke through with that 11 touchdown season in 2022, 6 2023. Even last year, the 49ers offense, not great by any means, still got 8 touchdowns. So it's tough to really rag on him too hard because I think he's going to have a really good year. Oh, wow. Look at this. Ryan, if you're on youtube.com/sportsgaming podcast, Ryan, we are literally in the sheets. You're overlaying your spreadsheet with our graphic. I thought it would be. This is NSFW. Get your boss screen ready in case the boss man's walking by and sees your video.
It is a good time to get in the Patreon because you get all the fantasy sheets, all the college sheets, all the NFL sheets. Which the NFL sheets are basically a preview mag.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what I did was I basically just dumped the last 6 years of data, and it's interesting just to look at a guy's years stacked on top of each other, especially when you layer in points per game and total points with the rank amongst the position, and the coloring that you see in the fantasy points and the points per game column. Essentially, dark green represents you're in the range of wide receiver 1. Once you get closer to white, you're in the range of low end wide receiver 2, and red is meant to represent like not startable as a wide receiver 3, aka you're not playing him as a flex.
Yeah.
And so what you notice with Kittle is insane consistency. Now, what really stands out with Kittle, and I maybe in future years I'll add in like the horizontal data, but Kittle still relies so heavily on spike weeks, multi-touchdown games, that it highlights why the tight end position is bullshit. Even Kittle, the number 3 guy, someone who's been incredibly consistent.
Now you have him as your number 3 as well.
Yeah. Okay. Still has a tremendous amount of weeks where he will not perform as a top 12 tight end. And so that's why, to Sean's point, for best ball, absolutely, I've not drafted a team.
Yeah, I need more Kittle.
Now, should you, if you were to draft like McBride and Bowers, can you stop at 2? Yes. That's probably the one time you can stop at 2 tight ends. Otherwise, play the weave, play the touchdown regression. And yeah, I think basically we're getting into a realm now after Kittle, even where it's like kind of that maybe some nostalgia plays. Let me get this off the screen. But yeah. So who's your 4?
4 to me, and
by the way, I'm ending up being a little higher on the Niners than I wanted to be this year. It's a little weird.
They do have a very favorable schedule. I'm going with Sam LaPorta. Very good first 2 seasons in the league. He's a matchup nightmare. His receptions were down a little bit last year, but I think if you're coming into a new situation, you're trying to put together a new offense. Now, certainly he'll have some competition from Amon-Ra and Jamison Williams, and I see Easy in the chat. He's been pounding the table for us to draft Jamison Williams. I still think he's going to be involved a ton in that offense. And I think if you're a new offensive coordinator, what's pretty easy? Just tell Jared Goff to throw it to Sam LaPorta. And the interesting thing is what Jared Goff will do without. We've only seen Jared Goff succeed with Ben Johnson and Sean McVay, considered 2 of the higher minded offensive guys.
Has he been with other people?
Yeah, I
kind of, you know.
Well, there
I agree
was
with
Jeff Fisher there his rookie
True,
year,
yeah,
but
I agree with you, but it's also framing a little bit.
A little bit. I think Ben Johnson was there his first year, but it'll be. I guess it'll be interesting to see how he does without Ben Johnson or Sean McVay calling his plays. I think for me, the simplest solution is just feed Sam LaPorta the ball a bunch. Dan Campbell loves him. So yeah, I think he dipped a little bit year 1 to year 2, but I think he's still going to be, and I think, they're certainly getting healthier on defense, but them playing some high tempo shootout games, I think still makes a bunch of sense. And his yards per reception actually went up from 10.3 to 12.1. Now his targets dropped down a decent amount, but I still think he's going to be pretty heavily used here in the offense.
Now, you kind of also at this point have to you have to start talking about ADP too. It's like, all right, well, now these guys are going much later. So
yeah, I mean, to me, that almost the tier is probably Brock Bowers and Trey McBride, but Kittle I think is kind of knocking on that door. Some of that's a projection. Well, I don't think LaPorta's very far off. What are you doing at 4? You're not going LaPorta?
Well, I was just pulling up the ADP real quick. So looking at this is old ass data. I'll find newer data. No, well, I guess my counter to LaPorta is he's very touchdown dependent.
Okay.
And he had a great year that first year, finished as the number 1 overall tight end, 3rd if you look at points per game, and then last year he dropped. What caused him to drop last year? He went from 10 touchdowns to 7 touchdowns, but he was receiving the ball further down the field. Had 3 more big plays, 20 yards or more. At the yards per reception went from 10.3 to 12.1. He just received way less targets. Went from 120 to 83 targets. Now that's the part I'm worried about. Does that change? What about what has happened this offseason that makes me think they're going to distribute the ball in any different of a way than they did last year?
It's a new OC, so it's a bit of a guess.
Maybe it meets in the middle.
Yeah. I think if he's getting back to that 100 targets, gets his catches up to 70 plus, and continues to be good in the red zone, that's how I'm getting him here to number 4.
So I have a chunk of guys, and this is going to help me sort it out, but all of them I have questions about, and I'll give you the list because I wanted to be high on TJ Hockenson. The Sam LaPorta case is hard to go against because the 4.
So who's your 4?
Well, that's what we're talking out here. There's 3 guys that in this tier to me and then there's Kelsey. Kelsey is in the same case as Mahomes for me, where it's like, well, fuck, he's playing. All right. Cause he's always going to play. He got his girlfriend to fucking Duke tight end university concert. Now I'm feeling very good about the vibes here. You know what? I'll throw Kelsey in the 4 spot.
Okay.
Here's why. Kelsey's the guy you love. Worthy. We're worried about Rice.
Yeah.
Kelsey's still the guy that if we blink and we wake up and Kelsey leads tight ends in targets, that actually still makes sense. And when you talk about, we were talking about Bowers and McBride, who can get to 150 targets? Well, Kelsey had 133 last year. It's not too many for him to pop back up and be that 150 target guy. If he gets 150 targets, then we're going to look foolish if we don't draft him where he's being drafted right now. So for that reason, let me make him my number 4.
Yeah, I have him on the list. A couple spots.
Actually, you know what? Make him my number 3.
Wow.
Because
Okay.
if he hits, the consistency will be better than Kittle's. Who I like because he'll have more targets.
Yeah, I mean, as much as like it felt in the regular season, wow, Travis Kelce fell off the cliff. He still had 97 catches. So even if you're,
he fell off the cliff to the tune of, again, 97 catches on 133 targets is an alpha receiver. He's getting a target share of an alpha receiver. He might be older. His 8.5 yards. And he's probably an interesting one to again get in those sheets. He's probably an interesting one to pull up the stack because you'll see what he used to be. And when he was young, it's easy to see. But really, it was just last year. Last year was the first year in a long time he didn't end as a top 2 points per game tight end, and he still had the same target volume. He still had the same catch volume. What was different? His yards per reception went down from in his prime 13. 12.5 to 13 down to 10.5 last year, 8.5 or sorry, 8.5 last year, 10.5 the year before that. So it was really a crater year. And so you got to wonder maybe he's washed. He might just be completely washed, but the floor on washed is still tight end 5. That he was washed last year and he was tight end 5.
Yeah. And I see AKA Jacoby in the chat saying Noah Gray outperforms Kelsey this season. That you sound like Kramer.
I like Noah Gray if Kelsey's not playing.
Yeah.
But now that I'm looking at the numbers and I can't project injury, and Sean keeps telling me he's playing. He looks slim. He's got a great haircut.
All right, my number 5, maybe a surprise here, but I'm going with the Green Bay Packers tight end Tucker Kraft. I was very high on Luke Musgrave when they drafted him. Of course, Luke Musgrave dealt with some injury stuff, but they drafted Luke Musgrave and Tucker Kraft in the same draft, and Tucker Kraft has just outworked him, outplayed him.
He's a better player. Period.
He's a better player. Yeah, I was the Luke Musgrave was a fun upside, has a lot of athleticism, the injury stuff, but Tucker
can't get on the field.
Yeah, Tucker Kraft has outperformed him, and he's been dominant in the red zone. You look at his year 1 to year 2 jump: 31 catches up to 50, receiving touchdowns 2 up to 7. And I think what's also a fun little nugget is they do run some like weird design run stuff for him. He had 3 carries, 6 yards. And he got first downs on all 3 of those. So I think they use him. I forget if it's a direct snap or if it's like one of those motion handoff things, but I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a couple goal line touchdowns as well. Like rushing, if he got like 1 rushing touchdown on top of 8 receiving touchdowns, that's
you know what the comp is? He's George Kittle.
Yeah.
He's going to have tremendous spike weeks.
Yeah.
I think if you look at the way that he's used in the offense, 14 yards per reception, he's getting those downfield targets because of the receiving and the running game around him. I'm with you. And like I said, I have this massive cluster. And as we talk things out, you know what? So that was your 5th guy? That was your number 5.
Number 5.
Put Sam LaPorta at number 5 for me.
Okay.
And then 6. I'm not going to quit Jonnu Smith just because they're talking about trade rumors. Again, I believe in the idea of a target. He received 111 targets last year, and it didn't even really start until midway through the season. He was at times the alpha receiver on a fucking team with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Granted, there were some injuries in there.
Yeah.
And what do we love this year about this team? The running game. Now his reason for being traded was purely monetary.
Well, yeah, and so I would, and Jonnu didn't make my top 10 list. I certainly, you called it last year. It was Jonnu
111 targets.
Yeah,
Sean.
that's crazy. I think. Now, did you do a dive of when Tua was in there and when he wasn't, or the receiver stuff? Because to me, I think
that him being better when Tua's not out there is more about him being relied on more in the game plan.
Yeah,
when Tua's not in there.
Well, and I do have. I feel like I'm in on all the other Dolphin guys. I have a Quinn Ewers 300 to 1 rookie of the year.
I'm not in on that.
I have a Jalen Waddle 500 to 1 offensive player of the year. I'm going to put in.
I'm going to get a Jonnu Smith one too.
Yeah,
I slowed up.
I totally see the case for Jonnu. I was just worried a little bit about
he's a red
rest
zone
of the
weapon.
Miami guys.
I mean, it's fair to think he could be the primary target in the passing game in the red zone. Like that's not crazy, even if Tyreek Hill's out there.
Yeah. No, I get.
He's that kind of tight end. And again,
I'm not going to debate you on Joe. Like I'm not going to go head to head on Joe.
Again, how many guys can get to 88 catches like he did last year? Again, he didn't. It's not like his usage was bonkers all season. It's so. And the fair point is when Tua's not there, he was much better. Well, so Sean, you predicting a 17 game season from Tua this year?
No.
Okay.
So maybe the Quinn Ewers rookie of the year is correlated.
Get your Quinn Ewers, Jonnu Smith stacks.
Oh, that's going to be so fun. All right. Me for number 6, some will accuse it of being homery, but give me Dallas Goedert. There were rumors about the Eagles wanting to trade Goedert. I do think because of how much they ran Saquon Barkley that they're going to end up having to pass more this season for the Eagles. And maybe the defense, which was historically good last year, maybe they need to score some more points. You know, the Eagles sat on a bunch of leads in the second half of the season. I wouldn't be surprised if they have to be a little bit more aggressive with the passing game. And, you know, Goedert is just, he's a dog, man. They love him there. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a little bit more of the red zone work. Now, his issue has been staying healthy. He only played 10 regular season games last year, had some nice games there in the playoffs. But if he can stay out there, he can stay healthy, which and like the stuff that he's gotten injured with isn't stuff that you're like, oh, he's always dealing with X, Y, or Z. They've been kind of fluke stuff, but maybe he's just a physical guy and that's kind of his issue. So I think he's going to be involved more in the passing game. I think the Eagles might throw more. And Jalen Hurts personally reached out to him when the Eagles redid his deal and said, "Hey, you're a huge part of the team, and we want you back. We're glad we're making this work." So I think there's a narrative. He's a baller, and I think again, basically for me, maybe even after the top 5, it really is.
It's a crapshoot.
It's a crapshoot. There's different angles, narratives that you can play. And that's why it's fun. It's going to be fun. Like you can really, if you got some sharp angles on some tight ends this season, you can really hit, I think, especially in the best ball streets. Kramer.
I think the reason I left him off I love the narrative of him being the leading receiver on the Eagles this year.
Oh, wow.
That's a private thought only that I've been crafting this year.
Now, how does that happen? Does AJ Brown and Devonta Smith get hurt?
But I don't. You said that, not me.
No, I'm just trying to imagine.
Watching the Eagles last year, they were at their best when Dallas Goedert was involved heavily in the passing game. I get the sense that Jalen Hurts feels very comfortable throwing to the routes that he runs. I think I mean, we talk about this all the time, and you're going to get mad, but I don't think Jalen Hurts likes to throw the slant that AJ Brown runs better than anyone else in the NFL.
Yeah, that's wrong. But
again, I think he.
That's just.
I watch the games. I think he more naturally likes some of the stuff that Dallas Goedert and the downfield stuff to AJ Brown.
He does like the go ball to
the downfield
AJ
stuff.
Brown the side
loves that. He trusts AJ Brown.
4th down against the Giants.
The in traffic stuff, he trusts Devonta Smith more, and I think he looks the most comfortable. I feel like, and this is very anecdotal, I feel like some of Jalen Hurts' best games are when Dallas Goedert is also having a good game, and so. Yeah, I think the idea that Dallas Goedert comes in and somehow is catching 8 balls a game because that's what the kind of offense they're going to roll out is probably unrealistic, and it probably requires an AJ Brown injury more so than Devonta Smith. I think Devonta Smith could operate as the number 2 if Dallas Goedert was the number 1, but I left him out because of volume. I thought when doing this exercise, you're right. There's so much there's so little separating like tight end 5 and tight end 15 that I thought I would continue to focus on volume.
Okay.
So number 7.
Yes. What do you got for 7?
Evan Ingram. I'm surprised you weren't high on this guy.
Well, I'm doing some moving and sliding behind the scenes, but yeah,
there's well, all right. So let's start with if you don't know, he's going to Denver.
Yeah.
And not that Sean Payton has had success deploying a tight end, like heavy success in the past. And yeah, we love the Joker talk, but I think when you go out and get Evan Ingram, you go out and get Evan Ingram because of what he can do, his speed and route running around the line of scrimmage. And we saw him, in Jacksonville in that 2023 season get 143 targets, 114 receptions. Now, granted, he still was the number 2 tight end overall and number 4 in points per game. But that's what we're talking about here. And we're talking about a team that's going to play good defense. They're going to have good red zone opportunities. I could see him improve on his season or his career best 4 touchdowns from that season as well.
He only really, and I have Kelsey 7, Ingram 8.
Okay.
And Kelsey we kind of already hit on, but even his floor is still a shit ton of catches. But picking up
last year he was washed and he finished 5th.
Yeah. So even if he declines a little bit, he's still a top 10 fantasy receiver. Yeah. No, Evan Ingram just feels like the classic Sean Payton guy. And who is he going to compete with in the passing game? It's just going to be Cortland Sutton, really. Like there's no strong number 2 receiver. Is it
Pat Garrett? Who's the receiver they drafted that Sean Payton's all hot and bothered about? Just like every year, he's got a new toy.
Pat Bryant.
But
then Marvin Mims, Devon Vele.
Every year it's a new one.
Troy Franklin.
It's a side piece.
Pat Bryant. Is this rookie Trent Sherfield Jr.? Who is taking the ball away from him?
It's the Sean Payton, you the man spot.
Man. Yeah, you are.
I think, and again, I'm a press conference watcher.
Yes.
Sean Payton did that thing where he like arrogantly explains to a reporter why Evan Ingram is going to be so important to the offense because of all these things that he can do from the tight end position. And so, yeah, I think now my worry with Denver is they spread it out too much and he doesn't get the target volume
as someone
he would need.
As someone who watched a lot of or was locked in on a bunch of Broncos game, having a bunch of money on them, they could use a solid, reliable second option.
Well, why do you think they went out and got him? I mean, I think look at the quarterback they have. Yeah. Sean will tell you he loves his arm strength, but he definitely, if you're gonna say mean things about Bo Nix, it's probably that he can't make all the throws, and you would like to maybe the stuff that Evan Ingram does is right in his wheelhouse. And so if you're going to go out and get him, they didn't go out and get him a receiver. They went out and got him a tight end.
Yeah.
And I think,
because and I kept trying to play tight end stuff in fantasy but like none of the tight ends really popped. Troutman, etc. It just never happened for him.
Ingram also is effectively on a 1-year deal.
Yeah.
So
Evan Ingram in a contract situation, that's the one you want.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see. His salary goes to 11 million next year, which seems like the kind of thing they would just cut. But if he has a monster year, maybe he sticks around for one more year. I wanted to be higher on him because also when you're drafting these teams, again, if I'm not going to get a guy who could potentially get a shitload of targets, I'm just going to wait and draft them at the end. Like if it's a managed league, which I am doing one, Sean. If I don't get a top tight end, I'm just gonna wait till the very end. All right, so 8 we're on.
Yep. Shout out to Underdog Fantasy, Ryan. $15 million they're giving away. $15 million, $25 entry fee for a chance to win $2 million the first place, and it's the best way to play fantasy football. You just draft the teams. Doing the draft is fun. All the other stuff feels like a part-time job. I got to set reminders. Oh, hey, log in here before the guy at his desk job fires off the waiver claim, managing your fab budget. None of that. I've never enjoyed that. That's not fun. Drafting a team is fun. Managing the teams is a huge pain in the ass. That's why I love best ball fantasy. And it's great. Even if you are in a managed league, I get it. It's a fun social thing. And I probably will end up getting sucked into one. Also tell them, hey guys, let's also fill up a Best Ball Mania draft and do a draft together there. Very fun Best Ball Mania. It's great experience. And of course, use the promo code SGPN. You get a deposit match up to $1,000 in bonus cash. So do the math. If you put in the big deposit the one time before the season, that's 40 shots, 40 bullets to win $2 million.
You know I'm a degenerate.
So head over to UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. That's right. Love Rhythm, the AI back picks and props. College football right around the corner. The National Football League. It's awesome. And again, the AI, the data, trust the data with a lot of this stuff. Now, I think it's good to have a process of watching the games, coming up with your own angles, and that's what's cool about Rhythm. You can build your own models. And of course, their power trends, they've been crushing it. Start a 7-day free trial. If it's not working for you, let me know personally, because it's a 7-day free trial. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM.
All right. Are you number 8?
Number 8. I gave out my 7 and 8 was Kelsey and Ingram. Kramer, you're on your 8. What do you got?
I mean, I thought I was going to be higher on this guy, but I guess he'll be 8. TJ Hockenson.
Yep.
The offense is it's going to be good. We know Justin Jefferson makes it easier for everyone else. I think Jordan Addison's pretty good too, and I'd imagine JJ McCarthy to the tight end is an option you want to create for him on the regular.
JJ McCarthy.
We know what TJ Hockenson has been in the past. It's almost hard to judge him.
He's my number 9. And I'm kind of just hopping in with you here, Ryan. You know, last year, even in the perfect offense, everything's going right. He had 42 catches, 0 touchdowns. Now he's coming back from injury halfway through the season.
Yeah.
But now what do we get with this new quarterback? I know everyone's already stamped his first ballot Hall of Fame, but you also have competition from Addison, Jefferson. It's tough to really light it up in the tight end position, but the plus side is Kevin O'Connell. You're in a dome, high tempo games.
Also, there's this this is the element where if this is, I mean, best ball you can get him pretty cheap, but if this is managed, part of the reason you want Hockenson on your rankings is because his ceiling is high. His game to game ceiling is just going to be higher. He's playing in what should be a better offense, and you just look back to 23 and 22, 127, 129 targets for 86 and 95 catches and 6 and 5 touchdowns. Like that. Yeah. That is the range of where, like, he is who he is. He's going to have 10 to 11 yards per reception. He's going to score like 3 to 7 touchdowns. And I do think with the way that offense should play, they're in the dome. I think we think the NFC North is going to have some high scoring games this year.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of things work out there. And again, he's a year removed from being the top tight end in points per game. And so, and again, back to that volume.
And then the reason to be optimism is he was coming back from injury last year. Yeah. And now this is the year after the year.
He's also older. We'll see, but we've seen it before where he gets hurt a lot, but when he gets hurt, it does seem to take a little bit more to get back. But I think this one is more of I'm surprised you have him in the top 10, because this is kind of more of a bet on, like, that offense seems to be able to move.
I guess the quarterback. I mean, by putting him at 9, I was trying to fade him because I feel like
you're not going to draft him at that.
So I mean, I feel like a lot of and I was looking at some of the ADP stuff. I feel like I was. Even at 9, I feel like I'm way lower than market on him.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think the market is?
Let me see. I feel like
I'll pull up the live Underdog.
Okay. Now maybe I was looking at.
There we go. Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. So you're right. Hockenson is the
fantasy
5th guy.
Yeah. Fantasy Pros has him at 5. So to me, taking him at 9 was me fading him a little bit, at least compared to the market.
Real quick. All right. So Brock Bowers going in the 2nd round, McBride going end 2nd, early 3rd. Again, this is half point PPR on Underdog. So if it's PPR, you're just bumping those guys up a little bit. Kittle going in the late 4th. Then you got Sam LaPorta going in the beginning of the 7th, Hockenson in the 8th. So it sounds like you're not drafting much Hockenson because you can get Kelsey after that, around, it's amazing how quickly they just slide. And so, yeah, the thesis to me is you either take one of the top guys or you let it go.
Yeah. And I may even have a couple more 4 tight end builds, I think, or some
definitely 3 tight ends.
And previously I've done, I wouldn't draft 2 like top tight ends, but I think the idea of like, hey, if you took Brock Bowers and Kittle, like Kittle being a guy who scores in your flex is not crazy, especially compared to
you only need 2 as well. I think the reason you do that is you're done at 2.
Yeah,
you can't, if you're going to take 2, if you're going to put 2 of your first 4 picks into it.
Kramer, who's your number 9 tight end?
All right, number 9. And so you already talked about him, but Tucker Kraft.
Yes.
I'm not even that high on the.
He's a guy
Packers.
I don't have a ton of. I think in best ball, I got to get some more.
But if there's a guy, that we don't really know who's going to be the number 1 receiver, right? You got BFF Romeo Doubs. You got Jaden Reed. They love to use him around the red zone, but it might be that Tucker Kraft ends up being the alpha on this team. Like I said, I think you look at his profile and it looked a lot like Kittle last year in terms of especially getting those balls down the field.
And the Packers, it's always like who's going to be the main receiver. Blah, blah. There's all that confusion with receivers, but I feel like Tucker Kraft is pretty clear cut.
He's a 2A guy too. I mean, the injury stuff concerns that it's a back stuff that's also concerning, but some of the greatest tight ends ever have had back issues on and off. Shout out to Gronk. Did you hear about his $69,000 investment in Apple?
No,
that he forgot about.
No, wait, what happened?
Basically,
Gronk the businessman is very funny.
Very early in his career, he invested $69,000 for the obvious reason. And he forgot about it, and it turned into a lot more money. So
yeah,
it's like,
he's actually a very good businessman. He's the classic guy who like hasn't spent any of his NFL salary.
Yeah, he talked about that on
Edelman's
pod. Yeah, and it also it made me think. There was a portion of that interview that made me think Gronk's dumbness was an act. If you had not shared all the stories you shared with me, I would think a little bit was an act because he was talking about all the investing he did with his money in his NFL career, and you're just like, no fucking way.
Yeah,
it's like he was dumb enough to know he shouldn't have his money.
It's
smart enough to know he knew he shouldn't have the money.
It's a weird line to draw where Gronk is not an Einstein by any means, but he also is self-aware enough of that, and he knows that people think it's funny that he's a dumb jock, so he kind of leans into it. He also is smart enough, to your point, to realize, hey, I'm not the best money manager. I'll put money managers around me, and he also lives for a professional athlete.
It's frugal, right?
I think he just lives like a somewhat regular life. He had like a roommate for a while, just because he wanted dudes around that they could hang out and drink all the time.
He just likes to hang. You know?
I don't. He didn't strike me as a guy who had $1 million cars and all this other stuff.
Definitely not.
He wants to just drink beers, hang out with his buddies. Seems like an awesome life.
I don't hate it.
Yeah. All right. So Ryan, that's your number 9. Coming in at number 10. You got to have one rookie tight end. For me, it's Tyler Warren. Rookie tight ends, they used to be, you could never draft them. They're so slow to develop. But now rookie tight ends have really, look at Brock Bowers, look at Sam LaPorta. Rookie tight ends have really popped as of late. I think if you're the Indianapolis Colts, Danny Dimes, you want some easy targets. I think the Colts wanted Tyler Warren so bad.
Tiny hands.
Okay, he didn't have drops at Penn State. But if you want to play the tiny hair narrative, sure. I just think in a full point PPR, we could look up and he has 85 catches regardless of their season. So I think he's a PPR. They have the term PPR scam artist. He might just be a guy who just racks up a ton.
It's like a foul merchant.
Ton of easy catches that will help you in your league. So I felt remiss not having a rookie in the top 10 for tight ends because of how well they've done the previous 2 years. So shout out to you, Penn State's own Tyler Warren.
I would have gone Colston Loveland if I was trying to crowbar on a rookie.
To me, Colston Loveland, there's just so much competition in that offense.
But they also went out and got that guy. So
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
fair.
I think.
Well, you just randomly hate Tyler Warren.
I think we're getting a delivery. They keep
Okay.
trying to call me. 10.
Answer it on the air. This will be fun.
Hello.
Oh, Uber Eats.
Huh. It's being recorded for safety purposes.
Okay. Well, we're also recording it for safety purposes.
Oh, it just hung up on me.
Huh. All right.
What could this be?
Well, the front door could be locked.
All right,
Or
anyway.
they could have trouble finding where our office is.
Is Joe Flacco starting for the Cleveland Browns?
I that would be my guess.
How
right
do you
now.
not put David Njoku on the list?
Yeah.
He's a monster he is and again, managed league, get him. And then the second Flacco's out of there, you can go boop, drop.
Yeah. I guess it's the concern of Kenny Pickett, the rookies, whatever, and just the Browns offense. But he's certainly on my just miss list. David Njoku, who I am a huge fan of. And if they're gonna be starting Joe Flacco, which, you know, what is it, June 28th or whatever today is, I have no idea. June what's today's date, Ryan? June 26th. On June 26th, I think they're probably gonna end up starting Joe Flacco. If they do, you're right. David Njoku could have an awesome season. Now, how long does Njoku stay in there is obviously the question. Or how long does Flacco stay?
Why not the whole season? He's committed this year. Last time he was like, I got the kids. I'm going to show up at the, I didn't want to do the training camp thing. He's there early. He's doing the OTAs.
I'm with you. So that's your 10. Kramer's got to go get the door. It is so funny. We do battle with the food delivery people because when we're actually in the office part of the office, they never knock. They just leave the food at the door. But the couple times that I prefer them to knock. So, the food's there. They never do it. They usually just leave the food there. Now, when we actually want them to just leave the food there, they of course are knocking. Kramer, do you get it sorted?
We got it sorted.
Okay. I was explaining to him that normally we tell them on the delivery notes to knock. So we know the food's there. This is the rare time where the timing worked out. Hey, just leave it there. It'll work out right when the show's ending. The food will be there.
It's a whole. It says our delivery driver was deaf, so maybe there was I think that's why I was getting calls that just hung up on me. It was alerting me that the driver or the person was here.
All right, so
all right, 10 was Njoku because I think you have to put him in. I'm surprised neither of us talked about Isaiah Likely.
Yeah, I mean, God damn it. You know what?
Too many tight ends.
I'll make it so we always add some bonus guys. I'll make Isaiah Likely my 12th. The problem is like Mark Andrews is still there, but Isaiah Likely
makes it hard to take either one for me.
Yeah, I think they'll kind of split it up, but Mark Andrews had that outlier year of 11 touchdowns. I feel like a broken record, but look at the production he went from 30 to 42 catches, Likely 5 touchdowns to 6.
Did you remember Andrews being so good last year?
No.
Yeah.
Well, second half of the season, because I feel like he started slow, and
he was coming back from.
I was touting Likely's the guy, Likely's the guy, and then Andrews slowly started eating his lunch as the season went along. I'll put Likely as the 12 because I do like him. He's a fun guy to root for. Coastal Carolina. He's a dog of an athlete. And if you listen to any of the stuff that Harbaugh has been saying, they're certainly high on him internally, and him making a nice jump up here. So
he gave an interview at TEU where it sounded like he was expecting to be a bigger part of the offense this year. So
nice. So what are your extra ones? 11 and 12, Ryan.
I like to talk about a couple guys. This guy did not make my list, although he did finish 9th last year. He is a good guy because I don't know if you heard this, Sean, but George Pickens had a youth camp in Pittsburgh that he abandoned because he got traded to the Cowboys. It's like, well, what do the kids got to do with your trade?
It was a sold out camp,
and they're paying for it. It's not a freebie thing.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
Is that a grift that happens out there?
I don't know. I don't know what the money breakdown is. Pat Fryermuth stepped in last second, so they got to hang out with the real Pittsburgh Steeler. Highlights the character concerns with Pickens. Pickens also said after he got traded, they're like, "Hey, are you still going to do the camp?" He said yes. That to me is the shittiest thing. Hey, if you move because of your new job and you can't do it, fine. Let the kids know. You find the replacement so that they can do the camp. Fryermuth is a great guy. The issue is I had the battle of Aaron Rodgers not wanting to throw tight ends, but our buddy Arthur Smith loves the tight ends.
So I for that reason I left him off. I'll tell you who I did not leave off. Hunter Henry. Now he's my 11. Hunter Henry, I was shocked to he had a horrible efficiency, horrible catch to target ratio considering the type of routes he was running. And I think Hunter Henry is a guy that even if the Drake May thing doesn't hit all the way, even if the team's not that good, I mean, he was a 100 target guy basically last year. Yeah, only had 2 touchdowns. I'll throw, and I think their offense is going to be a little bit more interesting when playing from behind this year. So, and could he end up being the alpha receiver? I mean, let's put Diggs to the side for a second. If he ends up leading the team in targets, how surprising is that?
Dalton Kincaid, you said?
No, Hunter Henry.
Oh, okay. I thought you were
no, talking about Drake May.
Yeah, no, sorry.
Dalton Kincaid is the other guy that I put right here at number 12.
Oh, never mind. Okay, so Stephon Diggs being out there, Hunter Henry being the main guy. Yeah. Hunter Henry? Sure. The Patriots offense is weird to me to figure out. I'm a little skeptical of Stephon Diggs. I mean, also this is what team number 4 for quote unquote number 1 receiver. That's a bit of a red flag for me. I think I like Drake May running the ball a bunch, but yeah, what was Hunter Henry's targets around?
He had 97. Okay. I mean, if you look at him amongst his peers last year, only the big dogs were ahead of him: Bowers, McBride, Smith, and Kelsey. And so he only had 66 catches though. And I think some of that is bad quarterback play.
But look at the receivers. Stephon Diggs, who still a question mark, but outside of him, Demario Douglas, Kyle Williams, Matt Collins, Keyshawn Boutte, Kendrick Bourne. I mean, they're just a collection of like random dart throws for first touchdown. Yeah. It's not like any of these. And now Stephon Diggs, maybe he is totally 100% recovered from the injury. He looked good in that one clip. He also likes pink cocaine. Yep.
Well, we learned that.
Or he had some pink cocaine. I guess I can't say whether or not he likes it. Allegedly. And Easy asking, real question: what's the food?
It's if you're from LA, it's a place called Porto's. You would know. It's like if you saw a box from this place and you grew up in LA, you would know the place. It's a Cuban bakery. Yeah, extremely good, very food,
and it's a chain, but it's like a family owned.
It started as one spot. Yeah, the one by us is the original location. And then they expanded from there.
Yeah, and they have amazing Cuban sandwiches, pastries, cakes. They have these meatballs, the meat pies.
Everything on the menu is good. Yeah, literally, if you're ever in LA,
the coffee's really good too, and it's very cheap for for what you get. And it's one of those places that you go there and you're like, holy shit, this line's gonna take forever. No, they have like 40 people working at all hours, and they get you in, get you out. Free plug for Porto's. Highly recommend it, Kramer.
Great food. All right, so who's your 12?
My 12th, I tossed it in there, is Isaiah Likely. It's an annual tradition. I got to put in Isaiah Likely, right?
Yeah. And now I'm thinking about, I realized that we forgot to do cross Dalton Kincaid off my list.
You don't have Dalton Kincaid.
Well, I was going to put him on. I mentioned it earlier.
Yeah. Okay.
Should we have Taysom Hill?
Honorable mention Taysom Hill.
No, I can't do that. He might end up on the Broncos. Apparently he might get cut and end up on the Broncos.
We'll see. Wherever Taysom Hill ends up, I'm going to be intrigued. So officially for me, number 1, Brock Bowers, 2, McBride, 3, Kittle, 4, LaPorta, 5, Tucker Kraft, 6, Dallas Goedert, 7, Travis Kelsey, 8, Evan Ingram, 9, TJ Hockenson, 10, Tyler Warren. Close, knocking on the door. David Njoku and Isaiah Likely 11 and 12. Kramer, rattle off your list.
All right, so you misscribed. We'll fix it though. Trey McBride, Brock Bowers, Travis Kelce, George Kittle, Sam Laporta, Jonnu Smith, Evan Ingram, TJ Hockenson, Tucker Kraft, David Njoku. 11 is Hunter Henry.
Oh,
I brought up Pat Fryermuth just to give him a shout out.
Okay,
and shit on George Pickens, aka shit on a cowboy. And then I was anyway. So this is the year of the Bengal. We saw they did the deal to stay in Cincinnati. And at this point in the draft, if I'm looking to take the last guy, I want to take a guy in an offense. So let's go Mike Gesicki.
Ooh,
very so
sexy.
And as I was doing this exercise, I was like, oh my goodness, I need to have a tremendous amount of teams with David Njoku, Hunter Henry, and Mike Gesicki.
Yeah,
which you can do like with very cheap draft, and it's just like touchdowns, right? You're just playing touchdowns.
Love it. All right. Good times as always.
But Taysom Hill is someone you can have fun
I'm keeping an eye on. Keeping an eye on Taysom Hill. He's not getting out of my watchful eye. Go back and check out. We did the top 10 fantasy football quarterbacks. Very fun episode, and we got to do the live tattoo reveal. Check out that video. We got the Big Ten and SEC college football conference previews out, both part 1 and part 2. Then we got a couple more. We got running backs, receivers, fantasy list, and then knee deep college football. And then after that, NFL team previews, of course. Appreciate everyone. Toss us a 5-star on Spotify, YouTube. Smash the subscribe. It is free after all. And of course,
I have one more. I do have an announcement.
Yes.
I think we're in talks right now with the man in the box.
Ooh.
To do a special. He has some FFPC credits.
Yes.
So we're going to be doing an FFPC $125 best ball tournament draft.
Let's go.
On Wednesday, July 16th, when we all return from vacation. So
great.
Put that on the calendar if you're interested.
And
you will have to sign up in advance.
And it won't be a vacation because you guys will be getting new episodes Monday through Friday.
I'm me.
Yes.
Me.
I'm going to be in Costa Rica. Ryan's going to be floating down a river. And you guys will be getting fresh content. And
I'm going to be in Vegas for like 24 hours by myself. Man in the box
teaming up. Yes. And July 3rd, we're a special Thursday VSiN show. Yeah. So if you're randomly out in Vegas, 4th of July, come by and say hi. And of course, as always,
thank you for participating in the Sports Gambling Podcast.
For the Sports Gambling Podcast, I'm Sean, stacking the money green. He's Ryan.
Nice tight end, Sean.
Kramer. Let it ride.
Wah, 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 wah.